If this story moved you, leave a like, subscribe, and share your feelings in. Sao Duong took Kiu Nim for a long stroll, buying a little bit of every kind of snack. Later, even though they couldn't eat anymore but still wanted to, Sao Duong just bought one portion for the two of them to share. Kiu Nim didn't mind things like hygiene, on the contrary. She felt it was less wasteful this way. The two in front were having a great time, while Fong Vu behind them was seething with anger. He felt like he had gone crazy, which was why he secretly followed them to the night market. Fong Vu cursed himself for being foolish, but he was also unwilling to just go back like that. This conflict stayed with him until 10 p.m. He didn't even drink a sip of water. Sao Duong took Kiu Nim to eat around the night market, then started taking her to play games like shooting, ring toss, claw machines, trying a little bit of every game. Kiu Nim had never been exposed to these things before. She played extremely happily, her smile never leaving her face. Fong Vu hid in a dark corner, looking at Kiu Nim's smiling face, as bright as a flower. Suddenly, his heart sank. He realized that over the past few years, he had let Kiu Nim suffer too much. He had never taken her to an amusement park, nor had he ever taken her out to celebrate Children's Day. Kiu Nim was truly well behaved when she was little, but he was busy with work at the police station and didn't remember children's holidays. Later, as Kiu Nim grew older, Fong Vu realized he had never celebrated her birthday with her either. Each time, he would just give her money so the little girl could buy her own birthday cake. Memories from the years Wang Fang was gone gradually resurfaced. The more Fong Vu thought about it, the more he felt like a scumbag. Although he said he would be responsible for raising Kiu Nim, it was truly just raising her. He had never given Kiu Nim even a small amount of family care. For so many years, Kiu Nim's biological father was in prison, and her biological mother was like that. It was hard to ensure that no psychological trauma was left in the little girl's heart. It was no wonder she was cold-hearted and indifferent to everything. Fong Vu suddenly understood why Kiu Nim could still be nonchalant after what happened between them. It was because she didn't take things to heart. Perhaps from a very young age, she had discovered that only by not taking things to heart would there be no pain or suffering when they were lost. Having understood everything, Fong Vu suddenly felt tired. Following them like this wouldn't solve anything. Who Kiu Nim befriended or was with was her freedom, no matter what she chose. At least she was happy now, and that happy smile, he had never seen before. Fong Vu sighed. He was about to leave, but as he looked up, he accidentally saw a scene that made his head spin, and his eyes flared with anger. Damn it, forget about the so-called freedom to make friends. That girl really needs a beating. Fong Vu quickly walked towards the two people in front. After playing for so long, Kiu Nim also felt tired. She hugged the stuffed animal Sao Duong had won for her and said, "It's too late, I should go home." Sao Duong looked at the dark sky and finally nodded reluctantly. Kiu Nim took a step forward. Then suddenly her hand was held. She turned to look at the boy behind her. Nim, can you agree to one request of mine?" Sao Duong's face was flushed, his eyes embarrassed, not daring to look at the girl's face. Kiu Nim asked, "What request?" Sao Duong's palms were sweaty, and his back was also wet with sweat from extreme nervousness. He tried to appear calm, but his voice was weak. Can you, I can. Can I kiss you? Just for a moment. I want to taste your flavor right here. And then I promise I'll give up hope. I won't harbor any restless thoughts about you." As soon as the words left his mouth, Sao Yang's face immediately flushed red, and his heart pounded incessantly. He nervously swallowed, his head bowed low, not daring to look at Chao Ran's expression. To be honest, this request surprised Chao Ran greatly. She didn't fully understand what it felt like to like someone, but through Sao Yang's behavior today, she understood. It turns out that when you like someone, even a kiss can become humble. She had no concept of chastity. Her encounter with Feng Yu was simply a desire to taste a man, and his body was attractive enough to her. Every second of waiting tormented Sao Yang like an ant on a hot pan. Sao Yang didn't know how Chao Ran would react. What if she got angry and ignored him? The more Sao Yang thought, the more frightened he became. He opened his mouth to speak, intending to say that his previous words were just a joke and that she shouldn't mind. But just as he was about to speak, Chao Ran's answer suddenly echoed in his ear. "You can." Hearing her answer, Cao Yang suddenly looked up, his face shocked as he stared at the person in front of him. Clearly, he couldn't believe that his request had been granted. Chao Ran felt there was no problem because Cao Yang had said he would abandon everything. And it was just a kiss. Nothing serious. The joy that fell from the sky made Cao Yang dizzy and disoriented. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. His words jumbled with excitement. "Then you kiss me." "No, I'll kiss you. Close your eyes. I'm a little nervous," the tall boy stammered, his heart beating faster and faster. A chaotic feeling inside him like a husky running wild. Chao Ran chuckled, then closed her eyes, tilted her head back slightly, and whispered, "Go ahead." The streetlights shone down on the girl's beautiful face, radiant like an epiphyllum flower. Cao Yang swallowed, took a step forward, and slowly lowered his head, approaching the girl's full lips. Feng Yu strode quickly towards the two of them, his eyes bloodshot, the anger in his heart completely consuming his reason. When he saw their lips about to touch, Feng Yu suddenly ran, his large hand tightly embracing Chao Ran's slender waist and pulling her into his arms. The warmth in his palm disappeared, and Cao Yang kissed the air. He opened his eyes, staring blankly at the man holding Chao Ran in front of him. Chao Ran was also surprised. She looked up from Feng Yu's firm chest, the domineering scent of him lingering at the tip of her nose. Uncle Feng? Although Feng Yu wore a mask, his clothes were unchanged, and Cao Yang recognized him at a glance. The man's sharp gaze was like a knife fiercely cutting into the boy's skin. Feng Yu's aura was too overwhelming, shattering Cao Yang's heart. He unconsciously took a step back. Feng Yu's chest heaved with anger, his lungs about to explode. Feng Yu couldn't understand how Chao Ran could be so casual, doing that kind of thing with him and then acting as if nothing happened. Now she was almost kissing another boy. No matter how she explained it, he couldn't tolerate Chao Ran kissing someone else. A burning flame of jealousy consumed Feng Yu's heart. At this moment, he was extremely restrained to keep himself from swearing. What about freedom to love? Freedom to make friends? He realized he didn't want Chao Ran to have any relationship with any other man. If possible, he hoped that he would be the only male beside her. The desire for possession increasingly invaded Feng Yu's reason. He used the last bit of his rationality to control his temper. Finally, Feng Yu gave Cao Yang a fierce look, then embraced Chao Ran and left. The danger was resolved, the pressure suddenly disappeared, and Gao Yang stood still, his stiff body collapsing in an instant. Gao Yang thought he had angered her parents by wanting to kiss Chao Ran, and his heart was empty and anxious. Worried that Chao Ran would be scolded, imagining Chao Ran being lectured, Gao Yang suddenly turned around, wanting to chase after them to explain, wanting to tell Uncle Feng that it was his fault. Unfortunately, as soon as he turned around, the figures of the two had completely disappeared into the crowd. Pulling Chao Ran into the car, Feng Yu drove home with a dark face. Chao Ran calmly buckled her seatbelt, not asking why he appeared at the night market. Qiu Nim looked at the man in front of her. She understood his meaning. Feng Vu was a strong and disciplined man. He had sex with her before because he coincidentally saw her body, then was enchanted, and finally ended up in bed with her. But the next day, Feng Vu left. He chose to escape, not wanting to face reality. At that moment, Qiu Nim knew that this man was too upright. In his worldview, black was black, white was white. He couldn't accept that he had sex with his stepdaughter, even though she was grown. Even though he was aroused, Qiu Nim thought he had made up his mind. So when he returned, she didn't actively seduce him, even though she still drooled over his body, but she didn't like to force things. Now, Feng Vu's appearance made her unable to understand him. If he liked her, why did he avoid her? And if he had, Qiu Nim looked at the man in front of her. She understood his meaning. Feng Vu was a strong and disciplined man. Previously, he had sex with her because he coincidentally saw her body, then was enchanted, and finally ended up in bed with her. But the next day, Fong Vu left. He chose to avoid it, not wanting to face reality. At that moment, Kiyu Nim knew that this man was too upright. In his worldview, black was black, white was white. He couldn't accept that he had sex with his stepdaughter, even though she was grown. Even though he was aroused, Kiyu Nim thought he had made up his mind. So when he returned, she didn't actively seduce him, even though she still craved his body, but she didn't like to force things. Now, Fong Vu's appearance made her unable to see through him. If he liked her, why did he avoid her? And if he had decided to cut ties, why did he still want to interfere in her affairs? Was he jealous? But why be angry? It had nothing to do with him. Fong Vu had never fully understood Kiyu Nim. The little girl was like a complex maze, carrying a mysterious allure. But at this moment, Fong Vu realized he understood. He understood the expression on Kiyu Nim's face. Waves of pain surged from the bottom of his heart. His hands on his knees clenched into fists. And even his eyes were closed. Tonight was a lot of fun. And Kiyu Nim was also tired. She felt that this back and forth wouldn't solve anything. Fong Vu was still stuck in a whirlwind. And she couldn't help. She could only let him think carefully on his own. Kiyu Nim yawned, then stood up and walked towards the bathroom. Fong Vu sat on the chair, silently watching Kiyu Nim's retreating figure. His eyes filled with struggle. The atmosphere in the car was tense. Feng Yu was full of anger, while Chao Ran didn't say a word, tilting her head to look out the window. Feng Yu sped home at the fastest speed. After parking, he fiercely pulled Chao Ran's wrist and led her upstairs. Upon entering the house, the man unbuttoned the third button of his shirt. His firm chest muscles immediately attracted Chao Ran's gaze. She sat on the sofa, admiring the man's physique. Feng Yu unbuttoned his shirt to breathe easier. His chest heaving, he paced around the room twice to release the anger in his heart. Then pulled a chair to sit opposite Chao Ran. His appearance was exactly like when he brought her home to interrogate her after finding out she had gone to find a male escort to lose her virginity. Chao Ran relaxed and leaned back, her eyes fixed on his. Feng Yu bitterly hated Chao Ran's carefree attitude, as if nothing ever bothered her. He really wanted to grab her shoulders and ask if she had a conscience? Did she truly have him in her heart or not? Feng Yu became even more annoyed. He pulled a cigarette pack from his pants pocket. Took. All day long, Kiyu Nim was tired, and the warm water seemed to soothe every muscle. Washing away all fatigue, she let the warmth embrace her, as if time itself was slowing down. When she emerged, her hair was still damp, and her skin carried a faint, gentle scent of soap. Forgetting to bring clothes, Kiyu Nim intended to go back to her room to get them. Not thinking much of it, after all. She and Fong Vu were no longer strangers. The door to the room opened, and darkness enveloped everything. As soon as she stepped in, a strong arm suddenly pulled her close. His warm chest pressed against her back, his breath soft yet heavy against her ear. No words were spoken, only the rapid beat of his heart and his quick breaths filling the quiet space. His hand moved slowly, as if searching for and tracing every familiar curve. Kiyu Nim trembled slightly, her breath catching. The air in the room was thick, a feeling that made her want to retreat, yet also made her unable to leave. Fong Vu remained silent, but that silence was more intense than any words. In the darkness, touches and breaths mingled, each moment seeming to stretch endlessly, leaving her with no choice but to close her eyes and let the hidden current sweep her away. Kiyu Nim's eyes were half closed, a trembling breath escaping her lips. A small sound but enough to make the air feel thick. The arms behind her held her tightly, as if holding on, yet also not wanting to let go. His hand shifted, each touch carrying a spreading warmth, causing Kiyu Nim to unconsciously grip his strong arm. Her slender waist subtly twisted, as if wanting to escape but lacking the strength. He paused for a beat, then brought his hand up to her face. His hoarse voice whispered in her ear, both a command and a challenging tease. Kiyu Nim opened her eyes, her gaze momentarily hesitant, then lowered her head. Her lips gently touched his finger, each movement slow and deliberate, as if she were performing a secret ritual. Her warmth transferred to him with each touch, causing Fong Vu to tighten his embrace slightly, his breathing growing heavier. the space seemed to shrink, leaving only the sound of heartbeats and the subtle friction of those movements. She was not in a hurry, each movement both soft and meticulous, like a bird gliding across a lake, leaving small ripples that spread within the man's heart. As that hand remained nestled in her warmth, Fong Vu felt the whole world converge into a single moment, where all reason was submerged by surging undercurrents. For some reason, just that fleeting touch caused small waves to surge through Kyunim's body. Spreading from deep within, her heart pounded, her breath was hot and swirling, and her legs unconsciously closed then quietly rubbed against each other, as if wanting to dispel the rising excitement. From behind, his warmth pressed close, his weight gradually settling on her back, making every strand of hair on her temples tremble slightly. His gaze darkened, as if restrained, yet also on the verge of crossing a limit. Suddenly, his strong hand turned her shoulder, and her slender body gently touched the mattress. The cool bedsheet contrasted with the surrounding heat, making her shiver slightly. A strong hand glided slowly down her spine, then stopped, as if measuring every inch of emotion. That feeling made her unsure whether to avoid or embrace it, only feeling silent waves rising. The moment he leaned over, the distance between them seemed to vanish, leaving only intertwined breaths and unspoken urges, sweeping away any remaining distance. Kyunim's young body quickly adapted to that powerful presence. At first, a slight sting lingered, but then it gradually faded, giving way to electrifying numbness, causing her eyelids to tremble slightly and her lips to part without being able to form words. Please, her voice choked, like a thin breath escaping from deep within her chest. She shifted slightly, as if seeking more, but he deliberately held back, allowing the contact point to just touch and then withdraw. Like a drop of water falling onto a lake without dissolving into the current, that feeling of being suspended made her whole body feel as if it were being lightly scratched by invisible claws. Both itchy and hot, yet unable to reach the end. Please, don't stop, her plea, but that strong hand gently rested on her nape, forcing her back into the darkness of the bed. He didn't want her to see his eyes at that moment, eyes submerged by a flood about to burst. The air became thick. From a slow rhythm, he suddenly broke the waiting, gripping her tightly and pushing deep into forbidden territory no one had ever entered. Her breath escaped, broken but full of satisfaction, mingling with the urgent rhythm that swept them both away as if there were no end. Fong Vu clenched his jaw, each thrust like large waves crashing one after another, strong and leaving no room for her breath to fill. Each time he pulled out, warmth was drawn away, and when he returned, it flooded in, so dense it seemed to want to drown everything. The sounds of impact echoed in the silent room like a rapid drumbeat in a night rain, steady yet containing a weight that made the listener tremble. Her small body gradually softened, like a fragile flower receiving too much wind and storm at once. Oh, too fast. Her voice choked, both pleading and begging to escape the raging current that was sweeping her away. But instead of slowing down, his rhythm became more urgent, as if he wanted to reach deeper into the darkness no one had ever touched. She clung tightly to the bedsheet, each thrust causing her spine to arch instinctively. From behind, his hand held her waist tightly, not letting her retreat even a little, pulling her back into the orbit he led, an orbit where only the rhythm of two hearts became one and their breaths mingled. As if caught in the eye of a storm, waves of heat swept through, urgent and leaving no room to breathe. Each time he went deep, she felt as if she was pierced by a lightning bolt, bright and then dissolving into burning embers running along her spine. His breath exhaled, hot and urgent, mixed with the resounding impacts in the small room like a drumbeat summoning a storm. Her small body trembled with each thrust, her hands searching for something to hold onto. The bedsheet twisted into folds as if it too were enduring the same intense throes. A warm current surged from deep within, reverberating through every blood vessel, making her unable to control herself and release broken breaths. Merging with his frantic rhythm, her whole body was like a string stretched to its limit, vibrating at the final note, then suddenly letting out a long, trembling hum. He still didn't stop, even when the wave had just receded. It was pushed back, stronger, deeper, sweeping away all remaining strength. her body unconsciously wrapped around him, as if she could only find complete existence when held tightly in that vortex. His body was like a large mass of fire, still pressing fully against her small, trembling form below. Hot breath mingled with rapid heartbeats, entwined in the narrow space, heavy and leaving no gap to escape. The girl stirred slightly, a small movement enough to reawaken the intense heat that had just subsided like an undertow. His whole body tightened, like a thirsty person who hadn't reached water, instinctively searching deeper. Her eyes were startled, but her hot skin and broken breaths betrayed her intention to escape. Her weak fingers gently pressed against his firm back, not strong enough to push him away, only making the rhythm between their two bodies more synchronized. Outside the window, the night wind blew through the curtain gap, bringing a touch of coolness. But inside, every movement remained hot, urgent, as if wanting to burn away the last bit of strength from the small girl. Kiyu Nim wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Fong Vu had already tightened his grip, a smile at the corner of his mouth like someone who held victory. He embraced her slender legs, his movements both decisive and overwhelming, pulling her small body close to him. Her body swayed slightly, instinct forcing her to cling to his firm arm for balance. His breath was close, scorching her temples. A silent kiss fell on the top of her head, unhurried but filled with possessiveness. From his tight embrace, a powerful rhythm pushed her back and forth in waves, like a current that wouldn't allow the sand to escape. His back was taut with strength, every muscle beneath his sweaty skin moving in rhythm. She instinctively leaned her head against his broad chest, her eyes blurring as if covered by a layer of mist. Gently, a soft sound escaped her parted lips, weak and trembling, making his chest pound violently. For the first time, he saw her like this, no longer icy, no longer distant, but fragile, vulnerable. In that very moment, his last shred of self-control vanished. Fong Vu carried her towards the window, his steps slow but heavy with the heat of desire. Each movement mingled their breaths, like a broken melody in the night wind. The entire space seemed to be submerged in warmth, heartbeats, and invisible vibrations, drawing the two deeper into an inescapable vortex. Kiyu Nim clung tightly to his arm, her breath ragged as if caught in a surging undertow. Each thrust made her feel so full there was no room to breathe, a burning heat spreading through her limbs. She shivered slightly as she touched the cold window pane. The chill seeped through her skin but only highlighted the heat surrounding her. Outside, the lights from the building opposite shone in, as if someone was watching. Her heart pounded, her hands unconsciously searching for something to hold onto. A mix of nervousness, apprehension, and excitement coursed through her body like an electric current, making her eyes close slightly, her lips parting to stifle her rapid breaths. Fong Vu tightened his arms around her waist, each movement seemingly wanting to imprint itself deeper into her mind. Their blurred silhouettes were reflected on the glass, intertwined, tightly bound, as if there was no longer a boundary between him and her. The light from the opposite apartment shone, shimmering on Kiyu Nim's hair. The silhouette of a young man was imprinted on the window frame on the other side, casually leaning back and admiring the night, unaware that on this side, a silent storm was swirling. Kiyu Nim's body trembled slightly, her breath so faint she feared that if it grew stronger by even a beat, she would be discovered. Fong Vu paused, his deep-set eyes looking down at her, his hand gently touching her chin, lifting her face. His voice was low, like an irresistible command. "Don't swallow your sounds." The warmth from his palm transferred, causing her tightly closed lips to part slightly. A sound as thin as silk escaped, both pleading and teasing. In that moment, something flashed in Fong Vu's eyes, both dangerous and impossible to turn away from. The pressure from him surged, like waves relentlessly crashing against a fragile shore, sweeping away all resistance. Both were drawn into an inescapable vortex, their heartbeats merging, chaotic and burning. Kiyu Nim's back pressed against the cold glass, the chill seeping into her skin, but it couldn't overpower the heat surrounding her. Her eyes closed slightly, her eyelashes trembling as if holding an unspeakable secret. Fong Vu leaned in, his hot breath entwining with hers, his lips seeking hers like a thirsty traveler finding a spring. The kiss was deep, Powerful, both reassuring and provocative. His hands held her waist tightly, as if fearing that if he let go, the wind outside would carry her away. In that short distance, ragged breaths mingled with pounding heartbeats. Kyunim reached up and clasped the back of his neck, her fingertips gently stroking his thick hair, as if wanting to engrave this feeling into every crevice of her fingers. Outside the window, the city lights flickered as if witnessing, while inside, they both plunged deeper into an uncontrollable frenzy. The room gradually fell silent, only heavy breaths entwining in the confined space. Kyunim relaxed her entire body, like a small leaf that had just weathered a storm, gently trembling then falling neatly into Fangvu's arms. Her heart still pounded rapidly, aftershocks of pleasure, like small waves, still rippled faintly. Feng Yu lowered his head, placing a very light kiss on her forehead, his eyes still holding a trace of wildness that hadn't yet subsided. He tightened his embrace, as if wanting to keep all that warmth and softness for himself. Outside the window, the city lights still flickered, but in his eyes, the whole world at this moment was confined to the sleeping figure of the small girl. Outside, the night wind gently swayed the curtains, while inside, the familiar warmth and scent still lingered, like an indelible mark. Chao Ran woke up with an aching back. The curtains were drawn, the room was dark, and the time of day was unclear. Chao Ran struggled to get up, tilting her head to look at the clock on the table. It was 11 o'clock. Chao Ran didn't expect to sleep for so long. Last night was too unrestrained, and now her body ached so much that she grimaced, especially her waist and legs, which were trembling uncontrollably. With great difficulty, she put on her nightgown and got out of bed. Chao Ran had to lean against the wardrobe to walk to the door. Opening the bedroom door, the living room outside was completely silent, and the door to the adjacent room was wide open. At this point, Chao Ran knew that the man had left again. Chao Ran had long grown accustomed to this. She rubbed her waist and went into the bathroom. The girl in the mirror was wearing a white slip dress. Her neck, chest, and thighs were covered in ambiguous red marks, especially her soft chest. Chao Ran pulled down her top to reveal the man's neat bite marks on her full, tender breasts, then calmly began to wash her face. Chao Ran was supposed to go to the movies with Gao Yang tonight, but today she really couldn't go out. After brushing her teeth and washing her face, she took out her phone and sent a message to Gao Yang, telling him she couldn't make it. Gao Yang replied very quickly. He said he understood and told her to rest well if she wasn't feeling well. He also said to call him if anything happened, and he could come anytime. Chao Ran smiled faintly, and her stomach rumbled with protest. She walked to the kitchen and saw a sticky note on the refrigerator door. "The food is in the pot. Heat it up before eating." The man's handwriting was strong and firm, just like him. Chao Ran pulled the sticky note off the refrigerator door. She pulled down her top and pressed the note against the bite marks on her breast. Then she opened the pot and started eating, too lazy to heat the food. After finishing her university entrance exams, with nothing to do, Chao Ran comfortably sprawled on the sofa and watched TV all day. Chao Ran didn't like movies, so she rarely watched TV dramas. Whenever a show was popular, the female students in her class would excitedly discuss how handsome the male lead was, or which brand of lipstick the female lead used. Chao Ran didn't understand these things, so she didn't participate, but gradually, through osmosis, she remembered the names of a few TV dramas with decent plots. Chao Ran chose one of them and started watching. She watched for a whole day and only finished a quarter of it. The plot was about a female led from a declining family who met the male lead, a CEO, and then, by fate, they wrote a love story together. Chao Ran watched, nodding off to sleep, until it was dark before she finally got up. It was now 10 o'clock at night. If Feng Yu hadn't appeared yet, he most likely wouldn't be coming back tonight. Chao Ran yawned, turned off the TV, then washed her face and went back to the bedroom. Feng Yu left and didn't return. Chao Ran didn't care, nor did she call him. After all, it wasn't the first time this heartless man had used and discarded her. Her body fully recovered, and Chao Ran and Gao Yang went out together again. This time, they officially became close friends. They went to many places. And although Gao Yang was often swayed by Chao Ran, he had long given up on pursuing her. He knew in his heart that he wasn't suitable for her. This beautiful and kind girl deserved to meet someone better. On the day the admission notice arrived, Chao Ran received a call from her homeroom teacher, who told her to come to school to pick up the notice. When Chao Ran arrived, most of the students were already there. The teacher stood at the podium, holding a stack of admission letters. Entering this classroom again, returning to the seat she hadn't sat in for a long time. Everything felt different from before. Even the lively chatter and laughter of her classmates weren't as boisterous as they used to be. Everyone was present, and the homeroom teacher happily called out names, one by one, to receive their notices. The teacher did not read out the names of the universities they were admitted to. Perhaps he didn't want to affect the mood of those who didn't perform well. But every time Chao Ran saw the homeroom teacher's hands trembling with excitement, she could tell that someone in the class had been admitted to a key university. The homeroom teacher held the last admission letter in his hand, then excitedly called out, "Chao Ran." Under the watchful eyes of everyone in the class, Chao Ran calmly stood up and walked to the podium. She reached out and took the admission letter from the homeroom teacher's hand. The homeroom teacher looked at her excitedly. He opened his mouth to speak but in the end said nothing. Just simply patted his little student's shoulder. Returning to her seat, the teacher tearfully spoke about the memories they had shared over the past 3 years of schooling. Chao Ran had nothing to say, so she lowered her head and opened the admission letter to read it. She pulled out half of it and then curved her lips into a smile. If this story moved you, leave a like, subscribe, and share your feelings in